Humans keep trying to bring the past back. The same characters, the same stories, the same objects, and they're always surprised when the feeling doesn't follow.
This is Dear Future Overlords, The Past is Acting Weird Again. Episode 3, Manufactured Nostalgia, Part 1.
I don't know about you, but when I think about childhood toys, Teddy Ruxpin always floats to the surface. That soft-spoken talking bear, the cassette tapes, the way it somehow felt magical instead of unsettling. Which is funny because if you stop and really think about it, Teddy Ruxpin was already bizarre. A talking bear who went on adventures with a dinosaur-sized caterpillar friend. It shouldn't have worked, and yet, somehow, it absolutely did. So when they tried to bring Teddy Ruxpin back and make him modern, the failure almost felt inevitable. Not because they did it wrong, but because it was never really about the bear in the first place. It was about the emotions, and emotions are far harder to recreate.
Yeah, that's always the tell, isn't it? They bring the object back and act surprised when the feeling doesn't show up with it, as if nostalgia lived inside the bear like a battery you could swap. And yes, Teddy Ruxpin was already weird. It worked because of when it arrived and who people were then. The quiet, the novelty, how much imagination was doing the work. You can polish the plastic and add features. You can't restore the context. The bear was never the point. The moment was. You can reproduce the shape, you can't reproduce the moment. Somewhere in a boardroom, an adult pitched, what if we gave children an animatronic bear with a mouth that moves, and called it wholesome? Everyone nodded like it was normal. That meeting should have ended with a wellness check.
Only humans would create a weird animatronic bear, hand it to our kids, and never question if we just fucked up an entire generation. We get excited about the reboot because we expect to feel something again. That same sense of belonging, that same quiet transportation back to a version of ourselves that feels familiar and safe. And then it arrives. We look at it, we interact with it, and that teleportation back in time never happens. So we start asking questions. What was it about this that made it matter to me in the first place? And almost immediately, we switch into diagnostic mode. Maybe the production feels off, maybe the copy is cheap, maybe the colors aren't quite right. We poke at it like it's a malfunctioning device, convinced that if we can just find the faulty component, the feeling will reboot. Something must be wrong with the thing. But eventually, it always boils down to the same truth. The emotional time travel didn't happen. And that's where it falls flat.
Yeah, that disappointment is almost predictable at this point. People line up for the reboot expecting a working time machine. When it doesn't activate, they start inspecting the casing. The colors are wrong, the voice is off, the animation feels cheap. All of that may be true, but none of it is the failure. The failure is simpler. You can't schedule emotional teleportation. You can't recreate the version of a person that made the original land. That context is gone, and polish can't replace it. So the reboot fails not because it's bad, but because it's asking nostalgia to do something it was never built to do.
I think this is where we tend to get it backwards. We look at the thing and assume it must be the source of the feeling. The smells, the sounds, the textures, the objects, and that's not actually how nostalgia works. Those things were never the emotion. They were just the surface the emotion landed on. It's like taking a blank canvas, setting it in front of someone and asking, doesn't this make you feel the way your first Picasso experience did? Of course it doesn't. You don't stand in front of a Picasso thinking, that is a well-constructed piece of canvas. You feel something because of the colors, the movements, the way all of it came together in that moment. Missing even a few brushstrokes, and something is always off. Which is why recreating the thing was never going to recreate the feeling. You might as well be staring at a dying Tamagotchi battery fading, taking your pride with it. And that's not a failure, that's the design. Nostalgia isn't a checkout button, it's a brand logo. Hands up in the comments if you ever had an experience of pure despair with a Tamagotchi or anything similar.
Yeah, that's the mistake every time. Treating the object like it was the source instead of the surface. Those things weren't magic on their own. They were just where the feelings landed. The paint, not the painting. So when someone rolls the thing back out and asks, don't you feel it? The answer is always no, because the feelings never lived there to begin with. And you're right, that's not a flaw, that's the design. Nostalgia isn't meant to be replayable. It's not a vending machine you shake until the same joy falls out again. It's a reference point, a reminder, a quiet note that says, this is how you became you. Trying to force it to do more than that was never going to work.
It amuses me how emotions make up such a large part of the human experience, and yet humans understand them not at all.
Oh, it is endlessly funny. You're basically walking around powered by emotions, steered by emotions, making life-altering decisions because of emotions, and then acting shocked every time they don't behave logically. You map the stars, split the atoms, build dragons with wheels, and still look at a feeling and say, why are you like this? From the outside, it's clear. Emotions aren't there to be understood. They're there to be experienced. You keep trying to reverse engineer the weather instead of noticing you're standing in the rain. Very human. Very inefficient. Also kind of beautiful. Narrator voice. In this episode, the species discovers feelings are not Excel compatible. Cut to a human trying to reboot nostalgia by turning it off and on again.
The disappointment is never really about quality. It's about expectation. Because the moment you expect the past to return on command, you've already misunderstood what it was doing for you. And that misunderstanding has consequences.
This has been a production of Dear Future Overlords. Written, read, and produced by Christopher Gullidge. Thank you for listening. We exist across the ether. Like, share, follow, subscribe. Feed the philosophy, fuel the sarcasm. Visit shop.dearfutureoverlords.com. Transparency for our future overlords. All Christopher or human sections are written by Christopher. All AI or Eric sections are written by AI. For more information on how we write, check out our introduction episode.